All right, so this question was sent to me. It's if I had to assume, I think it would be from section 1.7. I can't really remember. I don't have it in front of me. But this is asking that we differentiate this function. So really quickly, I would write down that there's two types of rules, or two different rules that we would use here. We are going to use the product rule because we have two functions here that's being multiplied together. And then we want to also use what I would call the chain rule or the extended power rule, because we have those exponents there on the outside. I don't know if circling that whole thing makes sense, but these exponents on the outside, right? So you have two rules here that we are going to use to find this derivative. So let's jump in. So to find the derivative, it's going to be the first one times the derivative of the second. So that's going to be y prime is equal to the first times the derivative of the second, which is bring that 3 out front, leave the inside the same, subtract 1 from that exponent, and then multiply times the derivative of the inside of that expression. So that's the first one times the derivative of the second plus that second expression, which is the 2 minus the x to the 5th power raised to the 3rd power, times the derivative of the first. So we're going to bring that 5 out front. We're going to leave the inside expression the same, subtract 1 from that exponent, and then multiply times the derivative of the inside of that expression. So that's the first. If really quickly, if I need to write that down for you guys, that is the first times the derivative of the second plus the second times the derivative of the first. And that's the calculus, right? That's the only calculus that we have. Everything after that is algebra. So the algebra would consist of, for me, I see that I would multiply, let's use a different color. I might want to multiply this 3 and that negative 5x to the 4th. So that would be negative 15x to the 4th. And then I have, it don't really matter, 2 minus x to the 5th squared times 4x minus 2 to the 5th. Okay, so I just kind of brought that down. And then plus, what I see is I have 5 times 4, which gives me 20. And I'm going to bring down those other terms, and I'm just going to write them in the same order, so it kind of makes sense when I see it. Okay. All right, so from there, if you remember the examples we did, I told you guys that we would want to take out our greatest common factor. And so I'm going to look at these first two terms here and ask myself, what is my greatest common factor? So because that first one is negative, I like to bring out a negative. My pen is not working properly. I'm sorry. So I would bring out a negative. 15 and 20 are both divisible by 5. So my greatest common factor would be 5. I don't have an x down there with that 20, so I can't bring out an x. All right. So now I'm not finished. But I also want to look at, if I change my colors, what I notice is that both of my expressions have at least 2 of the 2x minus 5. So I'm going to take out 2 of those. And I also notice that I have at least 4, because the smallest exponent was 4, of the 4x minus 2 expressions. So that is my greatest common factor. That's what I'm going to bring out. I'm going to divide everything by that. All right. So let's do that. I have negative 15x to the 4th divided by negative 5. That's going to leave me with a positive 3x to the 4th. I brought out all 2 of those 2x minus 2 minus x to the 5th. And I'm bringing out 1 of the 4x minus 2. 4 of those. So that leaves me with 1 of the 4x minus 2s. All right. And then I have a positive 20 divided by -5. That leaves me with a -4. I'm going to bring out, I'm sorry, my screen keeps jumping. I apologize. I'm going to bring out, let me just bring this up. I'm going to bring out 2 of those 2x minus 5s to the 5th power. So that's going to leave me with 1 of those left. And then I'm going to bring out all 4 of those 4x minus 2s. Good grief. I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my pen today. It's tired. I've overworked it these last few days, I guess. All right, so y prime, my derivative, I'm going to leave that outside piece the same. And on the inside, that's going to leave me with 12x to the 5th minus 6x to the 4th minus 8 plus 4x to the 5th. All right, and from there, we're going to still drop down the greatest common factor. It's not disappearing because I don't have a denominator to reduce it with. But what I am going to do is simplify what's inside this bracket. So that's 12 and 4 gives me 16 x to the 5th minus 6 x to the 4th minus 8. And what I notice here, guys, is that 16, -6, -8, all of those are divisible by 2. So I can factor out a 2. And what's going to happen when I take out that 2, it's going to multiply times that -5. So 2 times -5 leaves me with -10. And my other terms will stay the same. I'm not changing anything with those other terms, but I am reducing all of those terms inside this right here. I'm reducing all of this by dividing it by 2. So that would now be, I apologize, that would now be, give me just a second, maybe I can finish this. That would now be 8x to the 5th minus 3x to the 4th minus 4.